Every story has a protagonist, a character that is embodied by the player.
You mind telling me what you're doing on that ship?
Sir, finishing this fight.
And throughout the story, we see them grow and hopefully succeed in their goals.
Here she comes.
Because when they succeed in the game, so do we. And GTA is no exception to some great protagonists that we love, despite being the bad guy. So I guess they're more like anti-heroes. The writers of GTA 5 definitely put a focus on making the characters relatable. Well, besides all the crimes that they commit, hopefully no one can relate to that. But on the more introspective, personal level, let's dissect the flaws and struggles that these characters go through and what sort of conclusion they come at near the end. Although there isn't officially a singular main character in GTA 5, it's hard to deny how much of the spotlight Michael DeSanta has throughout the game.
We're all professionals, we all know the score.
It feels like he has the most say, the most influence, and most importantly, just like the director he becomes later on in the story, he has the most control. His life after crime is miserable. Despite living a lavish life,
They got me right f***ing here. The end of the road. With a big house and a useless kid, and I'm stuck talking to you because no one else gives a shit. Oh, I'm living a dream, baby. And that dream is
he has a bad relationship with his family.
Oh, yeah, she's very centered. A regular oasis of peace and tranquility this
You! What the f?
You ruined my life.
His friends. Actually, while editing this, I just realized that prior to Franklin, we don't actually see any signs of him having any friends. I think that's very telling, actually, and worries mainly about himself. This is especially clear in his relationship with Trevor. When we go back to the very first mission you play in the bank heist, when they escape, things don't go as planned. They get railed off the road by a train, they shelter in a farm, and they get ambushed, leaving Brad and Michael for dead, while Trevor escapes. But Michael isn't dead, and we'll talk about why in a moment. A few years pass by, and it seems like Michael's life is going pretty well after moving. But after North Yankton, Michael's retired. I would assume it's because of how wrong the heist went, and it just seemed like a good time to call it quits. He befriends a kid named Franklin, and they hit it off. But after Michael catches his wife cheating, he goes after the cheater, and in the process destroys a house that doesn't even belong to him. And the owner wants for him to pay up, but Michael only has so much money as he's not working, so now his hands are sort of tied.
So what now? Looks like I'm gonna have to postpone my retirement. Ready? Ladies and gentlemen, please don't make me ruin all the great work your plastic surgeons have been doing.
And after successfully completing it, that adrenaline rush is back.
I went back into the business. I gotta be honest with you, Doc. It felt good.
But there's only one issue ahead.
Ruining my f***ing yoga.
Somebody say yoga?
Trevor?
Trevor is back. Michael obviously is shocked and scared, but also frustrated, despite Trevor clearly wanting to move past all of this.
Back in town, baby! Yeah!
But notice how Michael reacts to this revelation.
He fucking found me, Doc. My old pal, Trevor. He's alive and he ain't going nowhere. This is bad, Doc.
Is this how you talk about your friends?
Hey, man.
Fuck. What do you want?
I'm your friend. I don't want anything, man. Come on, your company's good enough, huh?
Regardless of the ending you choose, it doesn't seem like it's a good ending for Michael.
I know, I still hate myself.
But he has become a mentor for someone. It's clear that Franklin isn't content with his current life.
I'm getting my money in the hood. I'm straight, fool. I'm cool.
You cool? Cool what? Slinging dope and throwing up gang signs?
But he works at a dealership, stealing cars for the owner who then resells them for a lot more. At home, we see he has a bad relationship with his aunt.
On here?
Wait a minute, Franklin, what are you doing here?
I live here. This half my house too.
So you say?
His wife.
T, baby, I'm just trying to tell you I care about you.
You care about yourself. I want a family. I need some security in my life.
And his inner circle.
You ain't no more of a man than me.
I hear that.
Gangsta shit, nigga.
It also seems like Franklin doesn't like his circle, including his lifestyle. To put it short, Franklin feels like he's being manipulated or controlled.
I gotta move forward in my life. It seems like all I do is let people tell me what to do and I do it and nothing changes.
We see that he's faced with the harsh realities of the system.
I tell you what, my boy, you tell me exactly what you want, and I will very carefully explain to you why it cannot be.
What?
In all of these examples, he always answers to someone else, but it seems like he wants to be independent of that. But one day on the job, Franklin's life would change forever. This is when the inciting incident occurs for Franklin. He's tasked with repossessing a Jeep that belongs to a kid that's late on his car payments. He steals it but finds someone in the back seat.
That's a 9mm semi-automatic pushed against your skull.
That's when Franklin's instructed to drive into the dealership.
Drive into it.
My life, man.
Let's go!
Obviously, after witnessing all of this, Franklin's fired, but there's probably something that stood out about Michael to him, which is when he comes by and reaches out. Maybe the initial idea was that maybe for Franklin, Michael was the guy that could turn his life around. Throughout the game, as he begins to make more and more money and do more and more heists, there's slowly a shift in tone. It seems like he's coming more and more to a conclusion. Even with this lifestyle, this wasn't what he wanted.
Go!
Instead, he's stuck again doing illegal jobs, getting caught up in the middle of drama.
Stoolie, huh? We want Lamar to be rescued,
Give it a rest,
not sold to the
asswipe.
feds.
Man, would y'all two shut the f up?
And most importantly, being controlled. On top of that, when Franklin finally lives the life he always wanted, the people around him don't like this change.
Hanging out with old man, ignoring your homies, acting all superior?
Oh, my bad, Mr. Gold Card.
You ain't changing. I don't care how many cars you own, how many apartments you own. I don't care how many diamonds you put in your ear. It ain't for me, not done bad or done good.
And just like that, Franklin got exactly what he wanted.
And this is the future? A big empty house with nobody who gives a f about you.
You are alone, you pathetic psychopath!
To be just like Michael. As we start wrapping things up, Franklin is now tasked with a few options. The corrupt members of the FIB want him to kill Trevor, because they're afraid that he'll cave.
When the timing's right, you're gonna take old Trevor and put him out to pasture, homie.
While a multi-billionaire named Dustin asks Franklin to kill Michael.
Oh, yeah.
But that's my boy.
Yeah, but that's my boy.
He has betrayed everyone he's ever known.
The next line Dustin says is going to seal his, Trevor's, and Michael's fate.
A, B, or C. Time's ticking, pal.
He gives the hands of the decision up to the player. If you decide to kill either Michael or Trevor, Franklin acknowledges the good relationship he has with both of them.
I like you, dog, and you know this. I risked everything for your ass, dog. T, I like you. You scared the shit out of me sometime. Sorry, man. Yeah, you have been true to me.
What Michael says at the end also confirms how Franklin felt throughout this whole journey.
I'm all you got.
Which kinda makes the killing Michael scene a little too unrealistic for me. If you decide to save Michael, he of course himself. Officially leaving Franklin all alone, causing him to call Lamar and catch up.
Hey, Lamar. It's me, homie. Look, I was just calling to see how you was doing, dog, or maybe we can hang out or something.
Bringing him back to the cycle where he started. On the other hand, you could also see it as him finally breaking free. Whatever the outcome is, it still feels like Franklin has lost in the end. But he hasn't lost as much as his new friend. Trevor Philips, as we know, is insane and psychotic, a character that is almost an extension of the player's behavior in any GTA game for that matter, killing, destroying. He's not entirely a guy that wants to see the world burn, but he's on the edge of that. Just like how we discussed from Michael's perspective, Trevor too has some issues with Michael. There's no better place to start than at North Yankton. Let's continue where we left off, with Trevor escaping the police. After escaping the cops, Trevor got nothing from this heist. He thought that his best friend was dead, and that Brad was in jail. Trevor came to find out though, that his money was gone. And that's why despite these two doing a bunch of heists, Trevor's living in this dump, and Michael lives here. But all things being said, he still seemed kind of happy to see him.
I got in a bit of an awkward situation.
One of those fake your own deaths to your best buddy, and then run off with the dough, and then live in a big mansion. Awkward situations.
It's one way of looking at it.
and eventually they start doing heists together. But throughout the game, the two still fight.
Fuck are you? I'm your fucking nightmare. Yeah, enough with your goddamn threats.
It was obvious through it all that Michael was bothered by his presence, while Trevor was constantly reaching his hand out to help. Even at his lowest point when he had no one to turn to, Trevor stopped by.
Hey, man.
What do you want?
I'm your friend. I don't want anything, man. Come on, your company's good enough, huh?
But this would also be when he began to put two and two together.
Up in North Yankton, exactly who was buried in your place?
This whole time, Trevor thought that Michael was in the witness protection program.
I've been in witness protection. I still am.
And that Brad was in jail. But that whole illusion fell apart.
Brad!
Trevor finds out that Brad was in Michael's grave, and in reality, North Yankton was a sting operation that went wrong. Trevor was supposed to get shot, but Brad got in the way. This man is not some sort of owner of the farm, he's actually FIB agent Dave. Brad was supposed to be in jail. During the FIB sting, when basically everyone shows up and starts killing each other, when Michael is in danger once again, Trevor's there to save him.
If anyone's gonna kill you, Brad, it's gonna be me!
Trevor still decides to save Michael, and despite all of that, if Franklin / the player decides to take the wishes of the FIB and kill Trevor, Michael is there to help him. But oddly enough, if the player chooses Franklin to kill him, Trevor isn't present to help. But like we mentioned before, Michael is. And not just that, Michael and Franklin actually split Trevor's profit, which is really messed up. But when Franklin kills Michael, Trevor and Franklin don't take any of his money. So where does that leave us now? Our three main characters all have a struggle at first, and they want to reach a certain desire, whether the desire be happiness, power, or respect. All throughout the story, they all must learn to work together if they want to fulfill their goals. We've seen this format before in media such as Breaking Bad, Sopranos, and Goodfellas, and for the cherry on top, it feels like all three characters were written so that the player could relate to them. And despite GTA's unrealistic nature, like evading criminal punishment if you just hide from the cops long enough, or dropping your car from a building and surviving, they did make their characters feel very real, and in some cases for some people, relatable. A father who has relationship problems with his wife and kids, a guy in his 20s trying to figure out his place in the world, and a guy that struggles with a variety of mental health problems. The game even went as far as to capture different lifestyles that players might live in potentially. All that being said, there's 1,000 things we forget every day, and GTA 5's story and characters are one that we won't.